Hi, welcome back to Music Theory Logic. My name's Andrew, also known as d.r.u, or drusounds, and today I thought it'd be fun to show you some East-West plugins. East-West has been a central part of my sound for the last 5 years, in part because of Composer Cloud. So let's go ahead into the Logic session. If you're not familiar with Composer Cloud is basically a subscription service where you can get these plugins which I had heard about for many, many years and did not have access to. And for $30 a month, you can get access to literally everything they've ever made, which is really quite an incredible value. And I've been using this for quite some time in a lot of my different songs. If you're hearing like a violin in my overture, d.r.u, Spotify's linked below, or SoundCloud, wherever you listen to music, the violins, the pianos, everything pretty much organic. By organic, I mean something that exists in the real world. I use East-West plugins for. So I've written some MIDI here just to expedite this process, and I'm just going to showcase some of the sounds that I like. So if I go into Pianos Gold, we have the option of 4 pianos. There's the Bechstein 280, there's the Bosendorf 290, the Steinway D, and the Yamaha C7. All of these are really famous pianos. You perhaps have heard of a Steinway. They come with 2 different sizes. So if you're a laptop producer, you can use light patches. They won't be as heavy on the system. If I do a full patch, it takes a second to load. Now, on another note, part of the reason this takes so long to load is this is actually a hyper sampler. So what that means is this is actually triggering audio recordings. It's for each note, there's many different options, and it kind of draws upon which recording by randomness. So it basically kind of like mimics a real sound. In other words, every note from this is a real piano. Let's put that up an octave. Let's try the Yamaha piano. Let's go with the light patch so it loads a little bit faster. So it just asked me if I wanted to replace or add. So another crazy thing you can do with this is create aggregate instruments by adding different patches together. That if you're making like trap music or something where you want like a melody that has like a lot of weird textures in it, that would be kind of a cool method. Cool. So obviously the Yamaha relative to a Steinway sounds a lot brighter. In a lot of like pop music, when you hear a piano, the most popular piano in pop music, to my knowledge, is our Yamaha pianos, and they're bright, very clean, almost like technically very precise. I'm looking for our sustain pedal. Here it is. So inside of our MIDI automation, I can add in another line, which is going to be the sustain pedal. If you play piano, that's the pedal on the right. Sometimes classical people will call that a damper pedal. But essentially what that's going to do is drag out all of these notes so we hear them on top of one another. That's going to smooth this all out. Cool. So that's pretty awesome. Let's get another chord instrument. Let's copy that automation down, and let's look for an organ. So again, going into East-West, we hit the browser, and then we can scroll through all these different instruments. We could find organs in a bunch of different places. We could do not Ministry of Rock. we can definitely go into Goliath. Goliath, like it sounds, has lots of stuff. Vintage organs. In Ghost Rider, we also have some really like weird sort of sounds in there, like a Pragus chord. So let's hear the Goliath organs. Let's see here. I can't talk and read at the same time apparently. Vintage organs. Let's go with a B3 rock organ. Creates kind of a cool wall of sound. All right, let's go on to our melody. So one of my favorite, I really love everything inside of East West. Some days I've spent just like diving through the rabbit hole that, I mean, just look at how many different how many just different each thing has. It's pretty wild. But one of the things I love are the Eastern instruments. So we could go into Mid-East, bowed. Let's go with a fiddle. And what's really crazy is a lot of these, so this live, that's going to have some like some of the notes have bends in, and all of a sudden that sounds like this. With our chords. Cool, so let's arrange this a little bit. We could start with our piano. Cool. You're hearing some timing issues. So again, these are super heavy VSTs. What you can do is like take that and bounce it into place. Control B is the key command inside of Logic, and then that won't be as hard on the computer. Cool. So let's go in and change that melody instrument. Let's just solo that out without the chords. And I'll just like run through. So we have like wind instruments. The dudek is super cool. It sounds like this. The ney flute. So that instrument, we could like really create a lot of trippy trap type sounds with some pitch bend automation. So if I just take a melody here, let's move our loop. Let's write some. All right, simple trap melody. Just for fun, let's add some drums in there really quickly. Go into my crazy sample folder. If my computer will open it. Here we go. You've seen me go into this drive before. You've noticed like how crazy it is. Let's go with our Savage drums for trap. Since this is kind of a trap type sound. Now I'm going to listen, just drag a kick in. Let's grab a snare, small reverb. How about that? Let's make this standard time since we're at 110, which is kind of a weird tempo to do trap music at, but that would sound like this. Let's change our tempo to something that's more fitting for trap music. Let's go to like 80 beats per minute. All right. Keep that in. Let's grab an 808. So music theory time. What I just wrote is in the key of D minor. So I'm going to choose a D note from our 808. All right, so here's our 808s. Let's grab a D. We can listen to these. If Logic will play them. All right, whatever. Little 808 pattern here. All right, something like that. All right, so let's go back into this melody. What's really going to make this sound like something like out of a Travis Scott type beat is to take this, or like Future. I think if you check out my Mask Off, ironically, for today in California, masks are no longer required for people with vaccines. So just ironic. Let's go with our pitch bend automation. There we are. And I've done this before. I showed this in the Mask Off video, but if I literally just like hold down Command and give it some crazy automation, this is basically going to make it out of key. And what that's going to do is make it sound even darker. By ear. Add a little trap cymbal loop in there. Let's put it to time. There we go. Goes pretty hard. Write me a comment if you want to lease that beat. I'll cut you a deal on that. All right, let's go back and make this more interesting. Let's add our chords in there. All right, so again, the purpose of this wasn't writing a trap beat, but there you go. That's a context melody. I wrote the second melody, so let's at least do something with it before we call it a day for the video. If I play this, we don't hear anything because we haven't picked an instrument. If I go to, let's choose a different patch. If I go to Silk, we grab something Chinese. What about a Chinese bowed string, the Jinhu? The cool thing about this is like I have no idea. Like my knowledge base on world instruments is limited, as are probably many of yours. If you come from some sort of traditional world music, like Chinese music, you're playing that, maybe you've heard of that, but the Jinhu Ohm sounds like this. So that tells me it's a higher instrument because we don't hear those. So let's go Sounds kind of cool. Pretty cool. Throw some drums under that. All right, let's grab a bass. So again, everything in this instrument, it's not a synthesizer. It's not like we're designing sounds. And technically, I think picking sounds is sound design, orchestration, as we would call it. So if we go to like the dark side basses, a lot of these are really, really like huge sounding and probably too intense for us. Let's hear it. Just audition some other basses here. Pretty cool sounding bass. You go to So kind of weird. That starts to make the music feel like we're in the Phrygian mode with that minor second, as we would call the interval. If I want to make that more like natural minor, I could take that to the 2. I kind of like that out note. Awesome. So again, East-West Instruments. You want to look up Composer Cloud. If you're interested in this, you're going to get access to literally like everything you saw. This is not a paid endorsement. I hope to. I like dream of East-West seeing this and contacting me to give me some stuff. But I paid for this myself. It's not endorsed at all. This is just an insight into some of my tools. And hopefully if you stumble across this video because you're curious about it, I clarified some of the value of East-West. I only grazed the surface. There are many, many different instruments. Cool. And if you found this helpful, you would help me out a ton by subscribing to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications so you find out when I make a new video. Once again, we saw a bunch of instruments from East-West. And yeah, I will link to East-West below. Hopefully, I'll also link to my music theory textbook. You see that behind me, and my music, in case you're curious of hearing some of those instruments in action. And I will see you guys next time. I hope you have a wonderful day or rest of your week, whatever you're doing. Be well. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.